Hi everybody, Chris from BattleGoat Studios. Just wanted to introduce the live stream that you're about to watch. That this was originally shot as about a 2-hour live stream. We're going to cut it into a few different pieces, and I wanted to apologize for the audio. I didn't have my microphone set up quite right, so there's a bit of a hum. Hopefully it's not too annoying and you're able to get through it. And we hope you enjoy this part 1 and that you'll check out the other parts as we get them posted. Thanks. Welcome to the BattleGoat Studios Galactic Ruler Enlightenment live stream that's happening today on April 20th. We are live streaming this to our Discord channel for any of the users who are available to watch some of this today. And our intention is to also record this and get it up to our YouTube channel sometime soon so people can watch some playthroughs. I'm going to be playing the campaign, which is new in Galactic Ruler Enlightenment. There are 2 factions you can choose. There's either the Enlightenment or the Key Seriali are the 2 races that you've got. There are some basic settings that can be adjusted. When you're playing a normal, what we call a sandbox game, there's a lot more that players can control, but the campaign is structured with certain expectations, so we can't really allow the players to change everything, or it's really going to disrupt the flow of the storyline. I will point out that the Enlightened start in a fairly standard configuration. Now when you play a sandbox game, you are a faction that has just sort of reached space. You have your first orbital station, the ability to build more ships, and your first 3 fighters. That's really all a player starts out with. The Key Seriali story, it actually goes a little bit of a different direction. Let me launch in and we'll see how it goes. The size of the galaxy shown here is that it's going to generate 45 total systems. Each system can have a variety of planets, asteroids, and whatnot. The game supports galaxies of sizes between 2 systems all the way up to 200 systems. Though we feel the need to point out that if you start getting above about, I think beyond about 150 systems, that does start to be a bit of a performance load, even for fairly powerful systems, because that can be a lot of planets in the galaxy. Alright, so we've got our first message explaining to us that the Key Seriali betrayers, that this is some of their backstories. They've had to run away from their original homeworld. And it says the main summary is this campaign overall goal is to eliminate the traitors who usurped the Holy Throne. So somewhere else there's other Key Seriali that we are intending to take out. And I've read through some of this before. I'll let players read through this when they play it on their own, but the first overall primary objective is taking those guys out. And now the campaign is definitely structured to try and give you hints and tips as you go, so it's telling us that we should research priority and stolen designs. I'm going to be the classic player and dismiss a lot of these messages and allow you guys to read through it as you play. I have an objective to eliminate the Key Seriali betrayers. In the meantime, before I really dig into the campaign's tasks, as I've played the game, I have a tendency to approach early game in a very specific way. Oh, now it has another objective to build and deploy a survey drone and to scan a planet. Oh, I was planning to do that anyway, so that'll be an easy one. I'm going to say okay to that. I'm going to pause time for a moment because, like I was saying, there's specific things I tend to do when I'm starting a new game. I like to check in the recon department. What are the inhabited and unexplored planets to start with? So there are some planets here that look, so inhabited 3 races. I've met one of these races based on the storyline. It has us meeting one of the other factions. We live on Sevia, which is right here is our planet. And there's another faction that we haven't met yet on Navia, I guess is how I'll pronounce that. Unexplored. Well, actually, I like this. So in this system, we have, or is that an ice moon or a gas giant? I'm going to double click. Oh, it's an ice moon. I was hoping for a gas giant. Gas giants can be really helpful when you need to get energy later on. But there is at least a lava moon. Oh, it's a large one. Very large planet. So once we explore that, we're likely to find out that there's energy available to be extracted from there. Okay, so my first steps. So I know what's in the system. In the State Department, in a standard game, you wouldn't have met anybody at the start, so it would be empty. But right now, the storyline has us having met the Rydandites, another rock-based race. I don't really need to interact with them right yet. Resources. There are 4 commodities in the game. Usually agriculture is important because people eat the food. However, certain races have different properties. The key cereali, I believe if I hold over this, it will tell me that their food source is actually ore, because they're a rock-based race. So really for us, agriculture is just going to be an export product that I'm just going to, as much agri as I've got, I'm going to ship it out and trade it for other stuff. There is no buy and sell. There is just exchange. So if I want to gain a resource, I'm going to have to give a resource. So that's what I'm going to give. Or I should check what my capacity is. So we produce slightly more than we actually use, but because it's food, I don't feel the need to export that. Energy is often the bottleneck in this. It's hard to get energy. That balance has been adjusted from the previous Galactic Ruler game. We simply made mistakes in the balance that we had tried for the first iteration of the game. That has since been changed for Galactic Ruler, and those economic changes are the foundation for Galactic Ruler Enlightenment. But yeah, so I see that we only make about a quarter of our energy needs. Once I get down to the planet level, I'm going to have to start trying to address that. But I can also plan for my resource supply. I want to set my target supply to import. We already have 500 days worth, but I'd like to get multiple years worth of energy. And I know that I'm going to be trading goods through what's called the Merchant AI system. And that gets introduced through normal gameplay, but I'm already going to set it up that when I meet them, I just want to accept all the trades they offer. The design of that trade faction is that they never try and screw you on the cost, but they also never really offer super great deals. They're just a steady supply source for some of the goods, but it can be exhausted in large games. Okay, so exporting agri, importing energy. What's our finished goods status? Oh, we're pretty good for that. I'm going to leave that as is for now. Moving on to research. The game has a fairly extensive research tree. Often players would start with only a few choices, but the Key Cereali campaign, they've left a previous homeworld. They actually start with more stuff at the beginning than other factions would have. And having played this before, I know that the quantum data buffers, it shows me here, these dots indicate that this tech helps unlock other more important things further down the line. So this one will lead to interstellar patrol ships, and it will lead to FTL range improvements, so I can do faster than light jumps farther. The patrol ships is really what I'm after. I'm actually, as opposed to starting this into research, I'm going to click on the dot there to get into the pop-up to go directly to that future tech of interstellar patrol ships, and I'm going to say begin researching that. Now by adding just that one technology, if I check back my research queue, it's in there, but it's brought along all the prerequisite technologies. So this gives me sort of my first 6 things I'm going to want to research. And I can see that I have 6 things queued up, but I can only be researching 2 at a time. And that's fine. I might build extra research centers. Next, still at the space level, thinking about space designs. Well, limited number of ships to build at the start, though more than most factions again. Space Patrol, I know I'm going to want to start with at least 1 drone. After I've got a drone, I'm probably going to want a handful of attack fighters. And eventually I'm going to need at least 2 engineers. And since we start with a bit more tech, I can actually already start planetary transports into production. Those normally would come later on in the game. And so once I start time rolling, it's just going to start producing through this list. But I know that I've put 11 things into the queue, and I only have 1 build slot. If we zoom in here, I only have 1 shipyard. Let's do some expansion. I'm going to right-click, build, orbital shipyard, click, click. I want 2 more of those. And those are going to take 178 game days. And actually, while I'm doing construction around here, I also want to build a defensive platform. Reason being, if I zoom out, the galaxy can be a dangerous place. I see, oh, there's that other faction I met, the Rydandites, but there's someone else here. Anybody who's played the game a little bit will have quickly encountered the fact that there's pirate factions. And these are intended as early game simple opponents to help the players have something to cut their teeth on, so to speak, to just their first combats. So I know I want to have at least a little bit of defense, and actually I can increase my defense even more by checking what do I have in inventory. We have 10 ships in reserve, all interceptors, and that's fine. I'm just going to deploy all those interceptors. Alright, so we've queued up some stuff, we've got some research, I've thought about my resources, I'll do more of that at the planet level, I've looked around the system. I think this is about it at the system level, and this, in case anybody's brand new to the series, this lets me show off one of the big innovations that we have about the game, is that obviously you can be playing around at system level. Here, let me just fly one of my ships off the planet. Is that I can move around spaceships at space level. Oh, new messages. But as well as being able to move stuff around at space level, I can right-click, go to landable planets, have a whole planet surface. And here I can again check my inventory. Oh, it wants me to build a spaceport. That's on my list anyway. I'll come back to that. Let me slow this down a bit. We start with some planetary forces as well. So I have some land units, a couple of air units, some naval units. So I'm just going to deploy everything. So this is a game where players have the opportunity to be doing actions on one planet, go up to the system level to move around that solar system. They can then move to a galaxy level, to another system, to another planet, and have those interactions at each of those levels. The galaxy level is really just navigation, but space, system level, and planet level, that's where you can have combat going, multiple things going at the same time. Some degree of complexity from size there, but it's an experience we really wanted to be able to deliver. All right, so on my planet, let's think about what I have right now. I'm going to go back to those resources. So agriculture, we are producing some, but it's not really going to matter that much to us because we don't eat it. It's just going to be a thing we can trade away. The ore, now we're slightly short. As population grows, that could happen. You know what? I think I'm going to go to facility controls. We already have scattered around our planet 120 mines. I'm going to tell it to build 10 more, I think. And here I've just used the button. You can tell it, just have my planetary governor put them in the places that they think are most logical. If I wanted, I could have pushed this button here. It would highlight where the deposits are on the map, and I could put things in a specific place. But I chose to just let my governor manage that for me. Moving over to energy, I'm definitely going to do the same thing because we know we have a shortage. I'm going to click this as many times as it will let me to max out any already started positions. So here there were already 2, it's built a third, I push again, it'll build a 4th. Now sometimes the resource underneath, if the intensity is not enough, it may not be able to get all 6 spots around the central hub. Oh, this one has a high enough deposit. And okay, and now we've sort of, the governor doesn't know where we would want him to build stuff next, so we can't use that button anymore. If we want more stuff, we will have to build and decide where we want to put it. And actually, this planet is a little bit scarce. This start, I've gotten less energy than I sometimes do, but there are still some spots like this where I can start construction. A feature that's come in since the release of Galactic Ruler, the original game, is that when building on a location, this is a community request, that they didn't want to have to click multiple times. So by holding Shift on my keyboard, when I click the location, it fills as many as it can manage based on the intensity of the deposit. Oh, I probably still want to do a couple more of this. So I have 136. I kind of like to have 50 of them in construction. Where's a good spot? Put some there. This is a game, I should point out that another system within the game is we have what's called a supply model. If I hit the S key on the keyboard, it's hard to see the color of this faction and the color of their land, but there's a bit of an intensity that shows. The idea being that you need infrastructure to manage industry. Infrastructure comes from cities and complexes, but the intensity of the supply degrades as you get further from those sources. Dropping down roads and rails will slow how much it degrades over distance. It has the effect of feeling like it stretches it. It really stops it from decaying, I suppose, is accurate. But so I'm sort of looking for areas that are near infrastructure if I want to build more power plants, because then it will be well supplied. So yeah, a spot like this will be great. And here, build those. And if I didn't like how much supply I had, I can always right-click, build, transport, and I'll just make a rail line connecting this. I guess I'll connect to here, and then click to go this direction next. And this will, over time, build up the rail lines and provide supply through those areas. Okay, so how are we for power plants? Huh, I lost my number there. Oh, I see what happened. Excuse me while I write down a note for that. So I'm up to 54 more power plants are being built. I can come back later and see how that affects my overall production. That's obviously not going to solve my total shortage, but we've also checked we still have over 400 days remaining of stock. Now, time has been rolling while I've been doing this stuff at the planet level. I should get back up to the system level soon, but a bit more to do down here is I want to be able to ship goods from the planet's surface up to space level, and that's going to require a military facility, specifically a spaceport. I tend to like to build that not directly on my capital, but somewhere nearby this spot. So that'll be a spaceport. Plus, I know I'm going to be building some land forces for invasions on other worlds. So I want to find where I currently have a land production facility. Okay, there. And I'll show other ways to interact with some of this. So within the location, you have the central portion and up to 6 spots around it. One of these is a barracks for storing the units that I produce, and then land production, where it actually builds. So I'm going to select that facility. Here I can activate, deactivate. The locations can be renamed. Although we have had a report of the renaming of planets, which was a new feature. A glitch got in there. It seems to be causing a potential crash. We will have that fixed within the next couple of days. So the land production, I want to build more of these. There's a build button directly there, and I can click. Now we'll be able to build 3 land units at a time instead of 1 at a time. All right. These messages that appear on the left, so that the message structure is on the right side. You get incoming alerts about what's happening ongoing. The top center is all about the objectives that you have while playing through. If you play through a sandbox mode, not one of the campaigns, this panel is generally not there at all. But it's used in the tutorials, it's used in the campaigns, and can be put away. And then the left side, these are really help messages that try and point you to specific parts of the game to help you understand what's going on. If you don't want those, you can simply disable the help. If you change your mind on that, F1 on the keyboard brings back the help messages. Okay, let's get back up to the system level, because our survey drone finished while we were down at the planet level. And the color that's here right now is because I turned on that supply filter. I'm just going to turn that off for now. So the survey drone, oh yes, we started a whole bunch of construction. So there's a bunch of messages. For each of the messages, you can center on if it's about a location. You can say accept. One of the tricks that I like that we had put in is that the delete button tells you that you click will delete one, but if I hold the shift on the keyboard and click delete, all those construction messages are cleared all at once. I know the stuff that I was building. And that cleans up our messages. We can see we're getting progress on our defense platform, our shipyards. Here I'm going to grab the survey drone, and I could start sending it around to individual planets. I could tell it, go over here and survey this. But I like the fact that we give the player the ability to use the AI that we've put in place. So I'm going to click the stack to see what's there, select the survey drone from the list, And now I'm going to turn on AI automation. And then escape to release the unit. And immediately, this survey drone, if I pause, I'll select him again, and we'll see, what does he say he's doing? Destination, Tutov 1, planet Tutov. So it tells us where he's going. And if I hold over, I can see, actually, if I select him, that'll keep his path line selected. Where are you going? Ah, he's decided that is the thing of most interest. You will find that the drones, when you automate them, they have a preference for landable worlds, non-landable worlds, then asteroids, and even within that, they'll try and go for the things that are uninhabited first, because you never know when you're going to find an enemy. So they try and scout out the things that are safest first, and then go back to finish wrapping up the system. Okay, so our first survey drone is on its way.